I bet my life I'm a dice shaker. Electric lights on a skyscraper.
Welcome to the Diceshaker Podcast. My name is Jordan Brown. I'm the host of the Diceshaker Podcast. With me, as always, the man behind the scenes, Tyler Hartley. Thank you, sir. So, one of the things we talk about on this show a lot is that I've been doing this for a long time now. I've been betting on football games for a long time, been a fan of this game for a long time. And so, when you do it for a long time, you know that you're gonna have your fair share of depressing Mondays. Which yesterday was a very depressing Monday for me. I don't really have a ton that I recall in September. It's pretty early to be that depressed on a Monday after a weekend of football. Basically, everything that could have gone wrong for me football-wise starting Saturday at noon did go wrong. Just some quick highlights. I was 1 for 8 in college football, including 0-8 on Saturday. Lost 3 different bets on the last play of the game. Tough to do. One of my worst days of betting college football of my life. The locks are 0-4. The locks are 0-4. Oh, I skipped over everything. Also, Oklahoma embarrassed themselves and me on national television on Saturday night. Lost to Tennessee. Defensive line murdered our offensive line the way I said they were going to, but it actually gotten even worse. Our 5-star quarterback committed 3 horrible turnovers. He's now benched. He's going to transfer. That's already over. I've been waiting for this kid for 3 years. He played 3 games, gone. So that sucks. My life stinks there. So dealing with that. Going to Sunday. Oh, the locks are 0-4. Baker gets fucking killed. Embarrasses me. I'll never blame him. I'll never hold him accountable. I will always forgive that man. He's done so much for me. He's now 7,001 in my life. So I will always defend Baker there. Kyler stinks in that game. Not really his fault. I thought he played well, but that the MVP future I gave out last week already doesn't look great, especially with Josh Allen going ape shit last night. That makes me worried about it. So locks are 0-4. Listen, the good news is I'm 60% in the NFL through 3 weeks, which is astounding. Like, people would kill themselves for that. Can we sustain it? We'll see. I do feel like I'm reading the pro board very well, but obviously some things are going wrong on Saturdays. That's 3 straight Saturdays that are well below 50%. We're down in the 40s for the season right now. So what you got to do... What you got to do when things start going wrong in this game is you got to hold yourself accountable. Best ability is accountability. I've always said that. You got to hold yourself accountable. So we went through, did a little self-scout, looked at where we went wrong, looked at what are the trends here? Where are we constantly missing? So self-scout returned a couple of things. The variance in college football now from a roster standpoint year to year, from a performance standpoint week to week, and from a schematic game plan advance point week to week is higher than it's ever been, and I'm not handling it well. There's the change in pace is very interesting from teams to another, and there could be a bunch of factors for this. College football is changing so much in terms of just obviously like the transfer portal stuff and the conference realignment stuff and the big picture, but even like little things like the new clock rules having a 2-minute warning, being the second year of not stopping the clock after first downs. The helmet comms. Coaches are now on, in the NFL, how they have it, where the coach is like in the quarterback's ear up until 15 seconds before the play clock, or before the play clock expires. That's impacting tempo and pace and decision-making and less turnovers. And basically what's happening is college football seems to be, off the field and on the field, becoming a more and more like what we think of the NFL as. And so it's very hard for me now, or at least obviously it has been, to have a feel for these teams, especially like the first 4 weeks. So we're through the first 4 weeks of college football now, and the real shit's about to start. We're about to get in there. We have really good games this weekend. We have really good games next weekend. And then October 12th, that is it would be 3 Saturdays from now, is, I think, the best college football Saturday in history. I don't think... we'll go through it when we get to it, but there's a ton of incredible games coming, and we're going to start to get teams playing other good teams and teams playing common opponents. And I think that's going to level some shit out. But right now, I'm a lost boy in college, very clearly. Again, 3 horrific beats. We don't complain about the bad beats. We understand that's part of the game. So what are we gonna do to fix it? There's a couple ways you can fix things when you're in the wilderness here. Number one, I've said this many times: never be afraid to fade yourself. Never take that option off the table. Never, if you're lost in the wilderness, darkness, lost boy, Peter Pan, and you got a real good, strong gut feeling about a game, a great fade yourself opportunity right there. You very clearly have no idea what you're doing. And so if you feel really strongly, you're probably wrong. Never be afraid to fade yourself. Number two, and this is a drastic measure, we don't go to this often, but it is always there, is the Nerf bullet approach. Nerf bullet approach has to be done sometimes. You have to rip the emergency cord and do it. You bet games, you pick your games like you normally would, but there's nothing behind it. You don't actually bet them. Do your picks, keep your picks, be honest with yourself. Don't give yourself better lines. Hold yourself accountable. Again, what's the best ability? Accountability. I've always said that. Accountability. Hold yourself accountable. Make your picks. Don't put any money behind it. And then wait until you start to see the board a little better before you start putting the money behind it. Because what can happen here? And like I said, like I've been through the wars. I've seen some horrific shit over the years. Like I've really been down real bad. We can talk about the Purdue bet in 2021. We can talk about 0-9 start college football last year. There was a bet in 2018 in the college football playoff that went horrible for me. I had Ohio State against Clemson that one time. They got absolutely, or against Alabama. No, that was Alabama in 2020. I think. Anyway, some horrific down periods. If I take another beat down on Saturday this coming week, that's gonna put me in a bad, not in a bad place. Like I'll always come back firing, but I can't. So we're gonna look at the board. I'm not giving out any picks on this show. All the picks will come out later in the week. I don't think I'm going Nerf bullets. I think I will fade myself probably in a couple of spots. So that's it. That's hand on the table. That's what we're doing. Hand up. I've sucked at college football lately. We're gonna get better. I'm excited about the rest of the season. It's been bad. So there you go. That's for all the haters and losers. People who are enjoying the losses, you're sickos. You're sickos and you're perverts, and you shouldn't enjoy it that way, but you do. So I just want you to know that's fine. You can listen, do whatever you want. I can't do it. But people who are enjoying me losing, there's something wrong with you. All right, that's not healthy behavior. So that's Saturday. Now, let's go through what we got. Let's go through the Sunday here. Sunday went all right, 500. Don't think we learned a ton about any teams. I feel like I'm seeing the NFL get right about 60% now. Obviously, again, the locks are 0-4, which at this point, it's just funny. At this point, again, and people don't like when I make this argument. They act like they're arguing like it's like an opinion I have. It's not an opinion. It is statistically just as hard to go 0-4 as it is to go 4-0. Like, it is just as likely. It's just as impressive. So, again, but people discredit that argument, but you're just arguing with math. Statistically, just as hard to go 0-4. So, whatever. We're going to keep picking locks. I think I got a good one this week. We're not giving it out on this show. I'll have it for you guys later. Because, again, we need to take a little more time. I think part of the problem here is we want to give out winners early in the week. And maybe we're not thinking things through properly. So we're going to take a little more time this week. So, for this week, again, it's a good slate of games. We're going to keep it short and simple because we're not giving out picks. We will start on Thursday night. I will give out the needle thread as we do. The needle thread is currently 1-2. Not where we want to be, but realistically, the other option is 2-1, and that would be incredible. So we haven't missed one bad yet. I've gotten at least one part of everything right, so we feel good. I feel good about this week. We got Cowboys, Giants, classic NFC East game. The Cowboys need it real bad. The Cowboys need this one real bad because if they go 1-3, including a division loss in prime time to a bad Giants team, it's going to be full-blown panic down there. And that panic for Dallas is 10 times what panic is anywhere else because there's that many fans. They're that into what they do down there. They're into the Cowboys, obviously the biggest brand. So shit's going to go real bad if they lose. They know that. And this is not a game the Cowboys lose. This is what makes the Cowboys the Cowboys is they're never bad enough to really be okay, we have to fucking fire Mike McCarthy. We got to get rid of Dak. We have to truly blow this up. Jerry Jones is crazy. It's never that. It's always they're bad, and then they're either good and then they're bad, or they're bad and then they're good, and they're going to get to a point where they're going to be 10-7, 11-6, and you're gonna be like, oh, maybe like I kind of see it. Like if they played like to their capabilities in the playoffs, like I could see it. And then housed in the first round, they're out. Repeat. Mike McCarthy not fired. Cash another check. That's how it goes. On the other side, this is just not a game I think the Giants will ever win. Like I don't ever think the Giants beat the more talented team in a short week in prime time. I like Dable as a coach, but like he's working with low spades without Saquon there. Like that offense misses Saquon so bad. Malik Neighbors is coming along. He's gonna keep balling out, but like that requires Daniel Jones to play well, which is tough. At least the Saquon thing was kind of independent of Daniel Jones, which was nice. So I don't see it. I'm comfortable laying the points with the boys. They were 4.5 this morning and then got bet up. They were 5.5 juiced like 20 minutes ago before I came in here. So that might go all the way up to a touchdown. Who knows? I would take them up to 7. 7.5 would make me hesitate a bit. And then I'm under 47.5. So it's a true needle thread where we're betting the favorite and the under. Very, very specific way this has to go. But 47.5 is a pretty high total. And I don't believe the Giants can score like consistently. Like I get the Malik Neighbors things. I think Diggs can handle that matchup. Obviously that could blow up because Diggs is going to, that's what he is. It's pick 6 or touchdown the other way with that dude. But he's a physical enough guy to where I think that could give Neighbors a little bit of trouble. And I think I just think the Giants don't have the talent to hang with the Cowboys unless the Cowboys play like shit. And I think the Cowboys are very motivated to not play like shit. So I think this game is going to be something like 24-10 Cowboys, 27-13 Cowboys, something like that, which cashes easy on both the under and there. Ways we lose this are, if we get like the really good Daniel Jones game, that happens once or twice a year. Or if we get if the Cowboys have just quit on McCarthy, I guess that could happen. But again, that doesn't, because CD got paid, he's good. Dak's gonna get paid, or Dak got paid too, actually. So it's I don't think they're gonna. They may quit on Mike McCarthy, but it's not gonna be. It'll be like a mutiny style thing, It's not gonna be like every man for himself. It's gonna be like they'll bond together against him. So I like the boys there. That's the needle thread. Feel good about this one. Didn't like the one last week at all. Knew I read it wrong. As soon as the game happened, I knew the Jets were going to win, but I knew that total wasn't going to go over. I just gave way too much credit to the Patriots offense. They're awful, atrocious.
Yeah, you said that going in, though. You're weird.
Didn't like it.
You're like Patriots might not score, though.
Yeah, and they just didn't. Their offensive line sucks. They can't block anybody. And that's actually a good point to talk about that. So scoring is down for the third straight week in the NFL. It is back down below we're back to basically scoring is at a point now in we're getting back to late 2000s. So we've gone for the last 15 years at a pretty high clip of scoring, and we've over the last 3 years kind of dropped it all the way back to where we were 2008, 2007, something like that. And people are blaming the wrong thing for this. So people are blaming the quarterbacks for this. They think the quarterback play is below what it used to be, which is true. But that's not the full story, right? Yes, quarterback play in the league is not as good as it has been from 2009 to 2018, 2019, wherever you want to put it. Basically when Tom Brady retires. And that's because during that time period, you had a generational run of quarterbacks. You had Brady, Manning, you had Drew Brees as sort of the top 3. You had Aaron Rodgers coming up through that time. You had... that's not even mentioned guys like Rivers and Roethlisberger and guys who have truly generational type talent and numbers. And we're just going to look at that era as an inflated era of passing stats because of some of the rule changes, but also just and also some of the offenses kind of evolving quicker than the defenses, which we'll talk about in a minute. But mostly it was just that it was just a golden era quarterback play. And we're just not likely to get something like that again for a while, especially, people thought the 2020 draft, which will go down, I think, as a great case study and how much COVID affected that. Because there was 5 first-round quarterbacks taken. It was the most quarterbacks at the time ever taken in the first round. Those quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and who was the 5th? I'm forgetting who the 5th was. I can't remember who the 5th was. Ah, God, that's going to kill me. All right, I got to look it up. 1 second.
I should be on that.
No, it's all good. I should know it.
A backup kicker right now.
Quarterback.
We'll cut this out. It's fine.
Mac Jones. Motherfucking Mac Jones. Mac Jones. Anyway, okay, so that makes my point. So, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. What do those guys all have in common?
Who's left of that? Justin Fields?
No. Well, he's playing, but not for the same team. So four of the five are gone. Right? Zach Wilson is the backup in Denver. Or is he the starter in Denver? No, Bo Nix is the starter. Yeah, Zach Wilson's backup. Yeah, backup in Denver. He might be the starter again. Fields is on Pittsburgh. Mac Jones is the backup. Is actually Trevor Lawrence's backup in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence looks like shit. They've lost 8 straight games. He just got destroyed on Monday night last night, so that's over. And then and Trey Lance, who like literally never played and is now the third string for the Cowboys.
I mean, you could make a case that he's the one off on that. We got injured, maybe he would have been good, but
the point still stands. He's been injured the whole time. They picked Brock Purdy over him, and told him, and they traded him for nothing. He's the He's the third string. He's over. And again, that whole draft was, and I think it was the COVID draft, so it was the first one where like they couldn't do interviews, they couldn't do any of that shit, in-person workouts, all that stuff, right? So I think that impacted it. That's going to set the league back quarterback play, obviously. But a lot of people. So Mel Kiper came out last week and said that we should be banning too high safety defenses. So basically, that it should be like kind of like basketball, where they have like an illegal defense, where like you can't have more than one player, like more than 7 yards off the ball or something like that. So you basically just can't play cover 2 anymore. You can't play cover, even though you could still get to it, but like you can't play traditional like cover 2, cover 4, cover 6 looks with 2 high safeties, because that's what's very in vogue in the league. It started in college. Kirby Smart and at Georgia, and Nick Saban, Alabama, started it like 6, 7, 8 years ago. It's now gone to leagues how you deal with spread offenses and trips, formations and stuff, and it's effective. But it's not effective for the reason people think it's effective. People think it's effective because because quarterbacks aren't good enough to beat it, and that's not what it is. When it's because offensive lines aren't as good anymore. The decline in offensive line play is impacting the low scoring we're seeing way more in decline in quarterback play is. So when you've got 2 high safeties, right, and you're going to run some version of cover 2 or cover 4 or cover 6, what you're doing is you're going to take away everything super deep, right? And you're going to take away at most intermediate stuff. You're going to leave the middle of the field pretty open, and you're going to give up the short stuff. Well, so as your quarterback, you have 2 options. So I'm either taking the short stuff, right? You see Patrick Mahomes do this a lot, where he's just come check down safeties. Tom Brady was good at. It's just take the easy thing every single time. And what that does is it forces longer drives, more completions. Basically, the defense is just, in college, we call this red zone roulette, where the defense is basically saying, you can get all the yards you want. Eventually, you're going to run out of space. We're going to get to the red zone. We're going to try to hold you to a field goal. And or at some point, you'll take a penalty, you'll hold or do something, and now a sack or something like that, and now you're behind the sticks, and now your checkdowns don't work anymore. You're effed. It's over. Punt. That's basically how it is. It's a very conservative way of playing defense. Defenses are much, much more conservative than they've ever been before. But the way you can attack those defenses is in the deep part of the middle of the field, okay? And those are hard throws to make, no question about it. They also take time. That's the problem. Is none of these teams, especially in college, but none of these teams have the offensive line play capable of giving their quarterback enough time to attack the middle of the field that these defenses are giving to you. And so instead of better quarterback play, we need better offensive line play. But that's not a very easy fix. Not that getting better quarterback play is a very easy fix, but offensive line play is been going down for probably 20 years because it requires you to practice physically. Offensive line play, first of all the guys have to operate as a unit, so you need 5 consistent guys playing all of the time, which is hard. And then you need to actually smash into dudes over and over and over again to get good at it. That's basically how it works. Same way quarterback needs to throw lots of passes to his receivers to develop that sort of timing and chemistry. The offensive line needs to move people physically together as a unit often. But we don't do that as much as used to because practices aren't as physical, especially in the pros. And offensive schemes are so much more reliant on the pass that run blocking and stuff doesn't really get worked on as much. And honestly, I also just think it's true of it. It's what's required of it. Like defensive line have gotten so good and so athletic and so big and so fast that finding somebody who can block a person like that, first of all, finding somebody who's big enough to play offensive line in the NFL is very hard to do. Like there's not a lot of 6'4" plus, 300-pound plus guys walking around there who are also insane athletes. Like that's just a rare person to find. Offensive line's always been scarce. But there are big structural problems that are preventing offensive lines from playing as well as they used to. And I think it's going to, like, so what I'm basically saying is that we're not going back. We're not going to go back unless we change rules, which they could do. We're not going to get back to the era of like what people my age, people your age would think of as like childhood football of 500-yard passing games and, 42-35 scores. That's kind of gone. But what people have to understand is that's never what this game was. It's just what it was in that era. And so now people got to ask themselves, do you actually like football or do you like pass skeleton? Because they play that. You can go watch 7-on-7 all the time. They do that shit. Nobody wears any pads, and it's truly like flag football. You can go watch that if you want to watch that. If you like football, you're probably going to have to get used to them not scoring that much anymore because that shit's probably not coming back. Again, unless they change the rules. I don't think banning two-eye safety is not going to happen. I don't like people would – it's just so hard to enforce too, like in terms of like alignment stuff. Pre-snap because you can like it takes away defense's ability to disguise coverage and all that stuff. But I could see, end zones getting bigger. Maybe I could see that going to like a 20-yard end zone like the CFL. You can't do much from like an offensive pass interference world either. So yeah, it's probably I think the end zone's probably, but like I said, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for them to increase scoring. Artificially, unless we just hit like a crazy string of quarterbacks again, or we figure out how to fix offensive line play, which is going to be hard. So anyway, so that's where the NFL is at with their shit. What else do we have to talk about today? All right, so Saturday we got a good game in college. Georgia, Bama, number 2 versus number 4. Just classic college football. Just two SEC, two most dominant programs probably the last 15 years. Hate each other. Playing the SEC, it's gonna be 100. Both of them expect to win a national championship this year. It is going to be insane. The pageantry, everything. It's going to be everything you want out of college football. But similar to what I was just talking about with the scoring, don't expect this game. If you're hoping you're getting 52-49, you're not. Like this game, I'm on the under. I think everyone should be on the under. I think both defenses are really good, and both quarterbacks have question marks. Like Alabama's quarterback is like not an NFL player. Like he's not going. Like Carson Beck for Georgia will make the NFL. He's not going to make the NFL. He's freakishly athletic. Like he can run for sure. No idea if he can pass. Actually, we know he can't. We know he can't. So I'm not sure what to expect out of him, especially if Georgia gets up and their game script flips on them. And Georgia's offense has been very conservative. Will probably continue to be very conservative. They're again are kind of embracing this new world of football of like, yeah, we're going to like run the ball and control the clock and try to win that way, play great defense, that kind of stuff, which is just like truly old school way of doing things, but seems to be more in vogue. They don't have like big time playmakers really. So that game, I like I said, I'm going to take the under of that game. Do that what you will. Might be a great fade yourself spot. The game's probably going over now that I think about it. I feel pretty strongly about that. So I might end up fading that. We'll see. But anyway, that's going to be in terms of if you like college football, if you don't like college football, that game will honestly be closer to an NFL game than a college football game. It'll feel like an NFL game just because of the talent level that's out there, the way the teams play. But the environment, it's in Alabama. It's going to be 100,000 people going absolutely apeshit. It's going to be incredible. So that's Saturday. Sunday, not really any specific games I want to talk about, just kind of big picture stuff. Chiefs are still very clearly in my mind the clear favorites still. People are finally catching on the Travis Kelce thing. So I don't know if you've seen this. His production is way down over 3 weeks. Well, that's part. Well, right. So that's what people. Right. So it's like he's very clear to focus on football, and like with the way that manifests itself, it's like he's not in shape. You can clearly see it when you look at him. Like, he's not ready to go. Which, honestly, like, first of all, he's up getting into, like, his late 30s. So it's like, this guy's been doing this a long time. He probably shouldn't be playing anymore. But he is, because, like, they're going for the 3-peat. And he was still relatively effective last year. So I think his game is going to just continue to improve. Like, I think he's basically not playing right now. You can basically assume that Kelsey's not playing. He's out there, but he's not really who he's going to be. I think they've basically told him, like, yeah, we know, dude. We know the podcast, the girlfriend, the whole thing. Just make sure you're ready to go in January. And I think he will be. So I'm not really concerned about that. They've basically played a B level game and a couple C pluses. They're 3-0 with wins over the Bengals and the Ravens. Or not, sorry. Who'd they beat? They beat the Ravens.
The Ravens, the Bengals,
and the Niners.
And the Niners as well.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, listen, like, this is it's only going to get easier for them the rest of the way. They're just so very clearly ahead of everybody else. The Bills are the only ones, I think, that can challenge them. Obviously, what they did last night to the Jags was quite impressive. The Jags are a dumpster fire. They're an absolute mess, but that's what the Bills should do to them at home. Josh Allen looked great. That offense looks good. They're so far the idea of getting away from being so centric on Diggs to where they can spread the ball now between Kincaid and Cook, the running back, and Shakir, and Keon Coleman's getting more involved. Seems to be working. I don't really truly believe in their defense to hold up over, like, the long haul, but the Bills look the best to me. I think if they played their A game and got a B game out of the Chiefs, I think they'd have a shot, which is more so than I can say about pretty much any other team. Let's see. The Bengals, I said it last week. They was who they was before they got here. They are what they said they are. They're 0-3. It's going to get dark down there, brother. It's going to get dark there. Are they going to be one of the worst teams in football this year? No. Will they make the playoffs? It's getting late early. It's getting late early. Not a lot of 0-3 teams making playoffs. Now, obviously, not a lot of 0-3 teams with the talent of the Bengals, but they've got issues, man. Like, again, both receivers are unhappy. Joe Burrow's still coming off the injury. We don't know how, as the thing with the receivers gets more strenuous again. It's the whole thing I talked about last year. It's like the slow realization of, like, oh, like, maybe we can't change things here. Maybe, like, this shit is so ingrained in the organization that it's always going to be that way. And then all of this is going to come crashing down. It's possible now. It's at least possible. Joe Burrow's under contract for a long time, and he'll always be somewhat competitive as long as he's healthy. But how long is he just going to be? What does he do if he decides, I got into bed with some suckers? And what does he do there? We don't know. So very interesting to watch them the rest of the way. It's got to turn around fast. They're starting to panic. The Ravens got their win. You know, those are kind of the four top AFC teams. I think they beat the Cowboys. Looked great for 3.5 quarters. Made me sweat it out at the end there, but looked good. Got the run game going. Derrick Henry looked great. That was awesome to see. Still not a believer in them long term because of the offensive line thing. I think that's going to end up mattering in the biggest of games. Big game for them this week. They're playing the Sunday night game against, I think, maybe the Bills. What was the Sunday night game? I got it right here. Bills Ravens on Sunday night. So that'll be a good one. That'll kind of be a good test for the Bills. The Ravens are at home. They kind of still need that one. So 1-3 for the Ravens is not great either if they lose that game. So big test there. That'll be a good one to see. The NFC is wide open. You know, the Niners are banged up, so we don't know what they're gonna end up being. They'll probably end up being there in the end. The Packers, Jordan Love's hurt. Don't know what they are until he's back. The Lions, we kind of know exactly what they are, but I feel like there's a ceiling on that team. Like, I think eventually you're going to get to a point where you have to play so perfectly to make the Jared Goff thing happen. You have to be able to run the ball. You have to be able to play defense. And then he needs to not turn the ball over. That I understand they're set up to do that, but I think, again, when the games get big, when the games get important, eventually, and especially him having to go on the road in the cold is always the thing. The Lions should be gunning for this NFC 1 seed. It's wide open. They need to be pedal to the metal to try to get that 1 seed because that would set they get to bye and then can play all their games at home in the dome. That would give them the best chance. So they need to be fighting for that 1 seed. And then I mean, after that, like, the Eagles are done. We're going to talk about them in a second. The Cowboys, nope. Nobody in the NFC South really sounds, Baker pulls off his magic. So yeah, like I said, it's I wish I had more exciting news for everybody, but I like we can go ahead and print the shirts now. I think I'm pretty sure this three-peat's happening. So is what it is. Get ready for it. People are gonna get. It's gonna be. I'm already sick of because it's just gonna be the Chiefs. Everybody's bitches about the refs every time they play. It's like, the fix is in for the Chiefs. They're just way better than everybody else.
I agree. I never really see it as a
They get some. They get called. Everybody gets called. They probably get a better whatever. Like Tom Brady got a better whistle forever. I'm sure Mahomes does. Like if you looked at it.
That's like a pattern recognition almost too. It's like Mahomes is doing all this crazy shit all the time. When he doesn't do something, it's so easy to just notice. It's magic.
Yeah. And it's like the reason they're beating teams, like they're not showing up in these games. They're not playing well. They've played 3 good teams. They're 3-0. Like it's over. People, like I said, you can go ahead and print the shirts. It's over. They are going unless they get hurt, unless they sustain serious injuries like along the offensive line or in their defense, or obviously to Mahomes. Anything other than that, cancel Christmas. This thing's done. All right, now we know who's good. Right, we're 3 weeks into the NFL. We're about to get into like the real meat of football season here. Like once the calendar flips to October, we're gonna hit that stretch soon where there's like football like 35 straight days. Right, action starts and we start going Wednesday night games with CUSA and then the NFL is really going and it starts to become a slog. So I like to sort of to break the season down into little smaller pieces and really start to take them in that way. And so we're through 3 weeks in the NFL now, which usually 4 weeks is when you consider that to be like the beginning of the season. You used to be able to divide the games by 4s because it was 16, now it's 17. So it's like, anyway, this is a little bit early, but I think I've identified. I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 coaches in danger of getting fired right now, which is I think a lot for this early on in the season. And so we're gonna go through them kind of in order of. I've got them in order of likelihood. We'll just give my thoughts on each one here. The first one is Eberflus in Chicago. He should have already been fired last year. I don't really know why they brought them back other than straight incompetence, but that fan base has turned on him. I think the players have clearly turned on him. People were thinking that the Bears were going to be like a 10, maybe an 11 win team this year. That's clearly not happening. Their offensive line might be the worst in football. Caleb Williams will be lucky just to finish this season healthy. And so I think there will be an absolute fan revolt if he's not fired. I think he's fired. He's going to be the first coach fired, I think. And I could see it happening by like week 6, week 7. The one who's the best run for his money in terms of first coach fired, especially after last night, is old Dougie Peterson down there in Jacksonville. Old Mr. Visor. Old Dougie Smooth down there. Sweet talking. Listen, I love Doug Peterson. He's this guy does nothing but draw up football plays and get divorced. Like that's what he does. That's a sick guy. But that team, I watched them last night. They play like they don't have practices. Like they just show up on Sunday and they're like, and you are. Oh, okay. What position do you play? Oh, okay. No kidding. All right, man. All right. Well, I'll see you out there. They false start. They don't get lined up properly. They take dumb timeouts. They're 0-3. They just got embarrassed on national TV. Something's got to give in Jacksonville, and I think he's getting fired pretty soon. They just dumpster fire an organization. Whoever the next coach they bring is probably not going to work either, but I think he's very close to getting fired. The next guy, I think he's a little further away from getting fired, but this guy's problem is that he plays for a team where if the fans turn on him and he doesn't get fired, shit might start getting burnt down. I'm talking about Nick Sirianni, head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's got a little bit of Mike McCarthy in him a little bit, where they flash to him on the sidelines when things are going wrong, and he looks like a man with no answers. Just confusion every time. Every time shit starts going wrong for that organization, and shit has gone. People have gone like where the Eagles were at. They were 10-1 last year, and to where they are now, they're 1-2. They barely beat the Saints this past week, which again, like I think they're still talented enough. They're gonna win a decent enough number of games, but like they are at a coaching disadvantage every single week in terms of his game management stuff. The way the offense is called doesn't make a ton of sense to me a lot of times. I was on this early that the Eagles offense was going to stink this year. I don't think it's getting any better. Devonta Smith got goddamn decapitated out there. One of the dirtiest hits. That's a I don't know the name of that Saints defensive lineman who did that. That's a bad guy. That's a dirty play to do that. He blood on that man's hands. That was bad. So I don't think things are getting any better for that offense. The defense, they have done nothing but draft defensive linemen from Georgia for the last 3 years, guys who dominated at Georgia, and then they just don't get any pass rush when they need it. It's like, man, that's really tough. Like, why aren't they playing hard? They've got all kinds of weird discipline issues within the organization. Things are not looking good for the Eagles. Sirianni's, I think eventually he will get fired after this season, I think. But if it starts to go real bad, like I said, because those Philly fans, they'll be like, fire him, or like shit's gonna start to burn around here. They don't fuck around. So Philly fans are like the closest thing the NFL has to like SEC fans, where it's like, we want the coach fired. They're like, it's like, well, we weren't asking. It works like that. Next one is a guy I like a lot. I think it's tough because, and listen, I understand why he signed the contract at the time, because it's hard to be a head coach in the NFL and it's a lot of money. Brian Dable, with the Giants. I just think he got saddled with such a bad deck of cards there, where they're like, hey, no, we are committed to Daniel Jones. And also the owner's super involved, but he doesn't want to pay for anything. It's like, man, that's really tough to pull off. And so, like I said, I would like to see them give him another chance with an actual quarterback and let him actually like go through the rebuild. I don't think they will, again, because it is New York and it is a pretty reactionary fan base and pretty reactionary ownership as well the last few years. So seems like he's probably out of there. I think he'll be happy to get out of there, to be quite honest. He'll probably get another head coaching job, and if he doesn't, he can go definitely get an OC job somewhere for a while and just do that. Great play caller, as we saw at Alabama and at Buffalo before this. So I think he'll be fine, but definitely could get fired, but probably not his fault. Next one, Robert Saleh. This guy might be a fraud. It's a whole lot of things that aren't coaching football that people talk about with this guy. Like, if I got to see this dude running the stadium steps the morning before a game, looking like jacked and sweaty and hot and stuff, and then just watch his team not know what the fuck they're doing for 3 hours, if I was a Jets fan, I would fucking hate this guy. I'd be like, yo, stop showing him all the time, looking like he always looks good, he's jacked, he's bald, he's always like, and then shit's just going wrong on the field. And it's like, hey man, I would rather have Dable, who is admittedly a fat, bald slob, but knows how to dial it up on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knows where Saleh's like, oh, we're tough on defense. It's like, you guys just have a lot of good defensive players. That Jets defense should be way better than it is. They're good. They're not great. He's obviously not a Rodgers guy. They had that weird interaction. I don't know if you saw that on the sideline. Roger explained it away afterwards, where he was like, no, I was telling him, like, 2-score lead. Always talking about 2-score lead. I could see, if that season doesn't end the way they want it to, in terms of like success for the Jets, like I think they need to win a playoff game because of the Rodgers thing and like the defense and stuff. Like, we have a limited window here. So I think if they're out in the wild card, or if they just get like stomped in a divisional game or something like that, I could see Rodgers basically saying, hey, the only way I'm coming back next year is if you fire this fucking guy and either promote Hackett, the offensive coordinator, who's like his guy, or bring in another one of his guys to be head coach. So I could see that. I think Saleh, as a defensive coordinator, is probably a good coach. I mean, obviously he was the D coordinator in San Fran before, so obviously they had a good defense. But again, a lot of talent too. Pretty easy to have good defense. We have Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. A lot of talent, a lot of good players. So I don't know. Listen, Saleh might be a fraud. I'm not going to Cliff Kingsbury him yet. Certified fraud. I don't care, everybody. Certified. We'll talk about Cliff when it gets time, because the Commanders scored 1 million points last night. Well, the Commanders scored 1 million points last night. So now we're back to Cliff's a genius. Don't worry. I'll get Cliff's ass when it's time to get Cliff's ass. Last guy who, two more guys, I guess, could get fired. The one who, I mean, he may be the most Teflon coach I've ever seen, but you got to include him in a list because there's always a chance, is Mike McCarthy. If the Cowboys lose this week and go to 1-3, the calls for McCarthy's job are going to get loud. They're always kind of loud, but it's going to start leading like all the national shows It'll be all anybody's talking about in Dallas. Jerry Jones has been a guy who said, I mean, listen, they've been the Dallas, Jason Garrett all those times, Mike McCarthy a million times already. They've called for the Dallas head coaching jobs before and not gotten it out of Jerry. But there's still a lot of season left. And so if we start calling for it in week 4, so like I said, I think the Cowboys will kind of right the ship. They'll do what they do. They'll lose in the playoffs. But there's no coach who deserves his job less than Mike McCarthy. I think that's pretty clear. Like nobody does less with more than Mike McCarthy, you know? So he's always, I would love to see it, obviously. He's almost in that Kirk Cousins range for me, though, where it's like, when he's gone, I'm going to miss him. You know? It's like, I'm like the day I don't go to war with Kirk anymore I'm going to miss it a little bit, you know? And the day that they flash that Cowboys sideline and there's like a competent guy standing there and not Fat Mike just looking around. That's going to be a sad day. I'm probably not going to have fun I'm going to miss him. But goddamn does he irritate me. If he was my coach, I couldn't take it. I honestly couldn't. And then I put up with a lot from the fucking Titans. I put up with a lot of their bullshit. But if they hired a Mike McCarthy, which it's not outside the realm of possibility, I think that would I don't know how I could do it. I don't know how, because the thing with the Titans stink right now. We all know it. They're 0-3. You think I don't know it? I know it. But it's like the Titans. It's like it's like somebody who's been through like if you were through horrific abusive relationships for 20 years, and then you're like, oh hey, by the way, your new girlfriend, she's cheating on you. It'd be like, yeah, okay, well, listen, I got other things going on, you know. I've been down this road before. And so the Titans 0-3, it's fine. But at least the coach, Brian Callahan, he's new coach, but he's at least doing the shit I would do out there. Like when Will Levis does some ridiculous dumb shit and has the insane turnover, he's on camera looking at him going, hey man, what the fuck was that? Which is what I want my coach doing. I want my coach to just react the way I would, which was just motherfuck this guy. Not Fat Mike standing there, just no clue what's going on, looking off into the distance. Headset's not even on properly a lot of time. A lot of people don't talk about that. His mic's up by his nose a lot of times. It's like, Mike, you're not even talking into it. Not even, no. Because why? It might not even be plugged in. Why would it be?
No,
He's got...
It's like your little cousin when you pull the cord out.
But it's not even... it's like the boss's kid who, shows up and, doesn't know how shit works because he's never there. And if he's there, he's kind of, too dumb to get it. But he's, got an office in the building. And so he just comes in and goes, here's what I think. And it's like, oh, thanks. You're making it worse. That, I guarantee you, there's, Mike McCarthy comes in and does his coaching staff meetings. And he's like, hey, all right, here's what we got. And then he leaves. And then everybody has the real meeting. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're like, yeah, all right. Anyway, now that he's gone, here's what we're actually doing. I guarantee it works that anyway. So he's always a potential candidate to get fired, but like I said, I almost respect it, honestly, of how long. It's man, nobody gets away with doing less than Mike. It's almost impressive. And then the last guy, just because you have to include it just because of where they're at, is Zach Taylor, coach of the Bengals. I don't think it's his fault necessarily what's going on there, but something's got to give if this season goes down the drain and you're not getting rid of Burrow. And Chase and T. Higgins are free agents at the end of the year. So if you're going to let them walk, that's not good. Probably bring them back. What do you do? Could be a coach change. Could be Zach Taylor getting fired. Be a very attractive job. Actually, now that I say that, that'd be a really tough decision for a coach to make. If they say they re-sign Higgins and Chase, long-term deal, get them locked up, okay, they're good. So you got Higgins, you got Chase, you got Burrow in their primes. That's sick. That's awesome. Yeah. That's better than a lot of open coaching jobs are going to be able to give you. But you also got to deal with the most penny-pinching, bullshit, broke-ass organization of all time. And so how good is that job actually? Because I think you probably, it probably goes back to you probably convince yourself, okay, but we'll change it, though. We're going to change it.
Yeah, okay, what if he doesn't even want to change it? What if he's on the side of that being like, oh, sick, you guys are going to make sure I have a job? All right, we'll win 9 games a season.
Well, there is that.
There's that on.
There is that, but that is, lots of coaches do that. Dable did that, I think, where it's
Mike McCarthy's, you're talking about, shitting on him, too. He's kind of doing that, right?
Yeah, I think Mike McCarthy take the Bengals job. But, I actually don't think Mike McCarthy take the Bengals job because, the reason Mike McCarthy likes being coach of the Cowboys is probably because of all the shit that comes with being coach of the Cowboys. Well, it's just they have the best locker rooms and the best everything. You know what I'm saying? And then it's hey man, you got to pay for parking at the facility here. Like, I'm serious. Like, it's shit like that. So it's like I don't know if he would do it, but like, yeah, there would be somebody who would just, because again, coaches' money. And that's what coaching college football is the biggest racket of all time, because the money's guaranteed up front. Day one, the money. So like Billy Napier of Florida has run that program into the fucking ground, and he's going to get fired. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually he's getting fired. And when they fire him, they're going to have to write him a huge check to leave. Like, people are saying his buyout's like $25 million. So he's going to get $25 million to go home and not work. Listen, there was a great coach, Ed Orgeron. He's not a great coach, actually, but he was the coach of LSU when Joe Burrow and them in 2019 when they won, right? And he's such a gangster, this guy. So things start going bad at LSU the last couple of years, and they come in, and I guess he did an interview or something. Or no, so he gets fired. And so he does an interview afterwards, and they ask him, they're like, how'd the process go? And go, well, and he's got like this heavy like Louisiana accent. Go, well, they came in, and they told me two things. They told me I was fired, and they told me the money, the check they were going to write me. And then so I had two questions. I said, when would you like me to leave, and out of what door? He was happy to take the money and go, man. Like coaching. So that's like, yeah, somebody will take that Bengals job just to cash it in, because there's only 32 NFL head coaching jobs. But it would be an interest, because they would, like, again, you're not going to be, Burrow's not going to be happy with you just signing some guy.
Yeah. No.
Right? You're going to have to get a name, right? Maybe Ben Johnson from the Lions, their offensive coordinator, something like that. But I don't like I said, I don't know if that job even opens up, but that's a lot, man. That's a lot of coaches who are, some of those guys are definitely getting fired. Some of them could be fired, but it's getting late early for a lot of these teams in the NFL. And again, I think it's one of those, like, it's almost like the NBA when the Warriors were at their height of, like, it's going to get depressing for a lot of these teams, because, like, it's very clearly over for a lot of you already, because it's over for you. It can either be over for you because you're bad and, like, you just stink, you can't win games. But even if you were like, oh, like, we might be good, it's like you have no shot at beating the Chiefs. So, like, you're actually playing for nothing, right? Like, I think that can be one of the things that impacts, like, teams like the Bengals right now, where it's like, we're 0-3, and even on our best day, we can't beat them. So, like, what is the point of the rest of this season? It could go bad. It could go bad. And then you end up with Zach Taylor getting fired. So anyway, that's the podcast. We're going to pick up the pace a little bit here over the next few weeks, just as the schedule goes, like with more games and stuff like that. So we'll have more to talk about and walk through, but that's the podcast for this week. Picks are going to come out every week as they do. Going to try to do some more live reaction stuff too. Like, I should have filmed a video after Saturday night, after I had the worst day of all time and Oklahoma lost, and I just hated everything. That would have been really good content that I didn't give you guys. So we're going to start doing live reaction videos moving forward. But that's it. That's a podcast for now. Thank you.
I'm a Diceshaker. Electric lights on a skyscraper. It's up and down.